I remember sitting down a few days ago, staring at the courtroom feed, and thinking to myself, this story isn't just about crime, it's about the justice system, the media, and how one moment can capture an entire nation. Hey everyone, it's Agent Tim. Before we dive deep into this incredible update, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to stay with me on every twist of this investigation. And as you're watching, drop in the comments where you're tuning in from. I always love seeing how far our community reaches. The case I've been following closely has kept millions glued to their screens, not only because of the tragedy involved, but because of how much mystery still hangs in the air. The accused remains behind bars as the legal fight intensifies, and every new hearing seems to raise more questions than it answers. I've been reviewing the court filings, listening to every statement, and speaking with legal experts who understand what it really means when a case turns from speculation to strategy. When you watch a hearing online, it's easy to forget that the people inside that courtroom are living this in real time. The defendant, the families, the lawyers, the judge, every single one of them weighed down by the gravity of what's unfolding. This last court session wasn't about guilt or innocence. It was about image, fairness, and the subtle ways justice tries to balance perception and truth. The defense requested permission for their client to appear in civilian clothes instead of a jumpsuit. Why? Because first impressions matter in courtrooms just as they do everywhere else. The law presumes innocence, but the public eye rarely does. And when a judge finally spoke those words that a person before the court is presumed innocent until proven guilty, it reminded me why we even have this system at all. Those words weren't just legal phrasing, they were a shield, a reminder that justice is not a popularity contest. The same hearing also tackled another debate, whether the accused should remain in shackles during proceedings. The defense argued that visible restraints imply guilt, but the prosecution raised security concerns and the judge had to make a call. In the end, restraints stayed, not as punishment, but as precaution. It's small details like this that reveal how much fear, emotion, and caution coexist in high-profile trials. Every decision, from clothing to restraint, sends a message both inside and outside the courtroom. And I've spoken with officers, jail staff, and officials who all said the same thing. Every movement, every letter, every visitor is documented. Some inmates get flooded with letters of hate, others with messages of sympathy. And it's a strange thing, seeing a person both vilified and defended by strangers who've never met them. It's a reminder that in a high-profile case, the world becomes a character in the story itself, shaping perception long before any verdict is read. As a journalist, I've learned that courtrooms are often quieter than the internet, but the silence in those rooms can speak volumes. Every nod, every glance, every carefully worded sentence can have implications far beyond the walls of that courtroom. And as I watched this unfold, I reached out to a defense attorney, a former prosecutor who's handled cases that shook entire cities. I asked him one simple question: how do you defend someone when the entire country has already decided they're guilty? His answer stuck with me. He said, you don't defend the headlines, you defend the process. Every word, every photo, every confession, every text message must be weighed, verified, and legally admissible. You can't win a case with theories, you win it with facts that stand under cross-examination. And in a world where social media spreads opinion faster than evidence, that process becomes both your weapon and your shield. He also talked about the psychology behind these cases. Sometimes the key to understanding a defendant isn't just the evidence, but what led them there, their background, their beliefs, what changed them. And in this digital age, radicalization doesn't always happen in dark rooms. Sometimes it happens online, in comment sections, in echo chambers that turn opinions into obsessions. When I heard that, I realized this story isn't just about one person or one crime. It's a reflection of how easily society can fracture over a single tragedy. Some people believe in the official story, others think there's more to it. But inside the courtroom, speculation doesn't matter. What matters is what can be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. The attorney also warned me that when national leaders, celebrities, or major voices make public statements about a case before trial, it becomes nearly impossible to find an unbiased jury. Can you imagine trying to convince 12 strangers to forget everything they have already read, seen, or heard online? That's the uphill battle of modern justice. Change of venue might help, but where do you go when the entire world has already made their minds? Every argument in this case, from evidence to witness testimony, is magnified because the spotlight isn't just on the trial, it's on the narrative surrounding it. And the families, both of the victims and the accused, are living through a storm. On one side, loved ones seeking closure. On the other, relatives trying to reconcile their pain with loyalty. No matter how you look at it, somebody's heart is breaking. And in the courtroom, those hearts are weighed in every ruling, every objection, every procedural nuance. Every legal decision, whether it's about cameras in the courtroom, how someone dresses, or who's allowed to speak, shapes the story history will remember. It's fascinating to me how the system tries to balance fairness with safety, perception with truth. And behind all of that, there are ordinary humans, lawyers working long hours, clerks juggling massive files, officers keeping everyone safe, and judges making decisions that might never leave the headlines, but will define lives. I've been covering high-profile cases for years, and one thing I've learned is that silence from the courtroom doesn't mean nothing's happening. It means something big is coming. Maybe new evidence, maybe new testimony, maybe a shift that changes everything we thought we knew. And when that moment comes, I'll be right here breaking it down for you, calmly, factually, and with empathy for everyone touched by it. Because behind every headline is a human story, and behind every verdict is a life forever changed. Let's talk about the defense's strategy. The lawyers are exploring every angle, from forensic evidence to expert witnesses, psychological analysis, and digital radicalization. They're diving into the accused's history, looking for mitigation factors that could spare his life. In high-profile cases, every expert, every consultant, every investigator matters. Forensic specialists can recreate crime scenes. Ballistics experts can challenge assumptions about the mechanics of the alleged crime. Psychologists can offer insights into motives, mental state, and the pressures of radicalization. Meanwhile, the prosecution is working tirelessly to build a case that can withstand scrutiny, even when the public is watching. They're reviewing every message, every social media post, every document that might prove intent. They know that in a trial like this, perception is as important as fact, and that means every filing, every objection, every witness is meticulously planned. And as I think about jury selection, the challenge becomes even more apparent. How do you find 12 people who haven't already formed opinions based on news, commentary, and online speculation? How do you ensure that each juror can be impartial in a world where the story is everywhere? The judge, attorneys, and court staff have to navigate not just the law, but human psychology, media influence, and public expectation, all while maintaining the integrity of the process. Let's step back for a moment. The accused isn't just a headline or a viral story. He's a human being in a high-pressure environment, following rules, adhering to jail protocols, and awaiting a trial that could define the rest of his life. Reports from jail officials indicate he's compliant, keeps his composure, and is treated fairly under the law. This reinforces the principle that every defendant, no matter how publicized their case, deserves due process. Now, I want to talk about the human element, the families. Imagine being a parent watching your child go through this. Imagine being a sibling, a relative, or a friend. Every day brings uncertainty. Every hearing, a new wave of stress. And on the other side, victims' families are seeking closure and justice. The courtroom becomes a place where emotions, law, and public scrutiny collide in ways that can be overwhelming. We also have to consider the impact of national leaders and public figures commenting on the case. When statements are made by high-profile figures declaring someone guilty before trial, it's not just commentary, it's influence. It shapes perception, creates bias, and complicates the possibility of a fair trial. Defense attorneys are aware of this and will likely argue motions for impartiality, possible jury sequestration, and even venue changes, though jurisdiction limits their options.
Another layer is the role of evidence in all this. Text messages, emails, confessions, and witness testimony all carry weight, but they must be admissible. Lawyers evaluate every piece meticulously. Expert witnesses interpret evidence, explain technical details, and challenge assumptions. Everything is scrutinized because the stakes, potentially life and death, could not be higher. It's also fascinating to see how technology plays a role. Digital radicalization, online echo chambers, and social media influence can shape behavior in ways previously unimaginable. Defense teams consider this when building mitigation arguments, while prosecutions assess it for intent. The internet isn't just background noise, it's part of the case itself, influencing both perception and reality. Throughout all this, the court strives to maintain fairness. Decisions about attire, restraints, courtroom access, and public observation are not arbitrary. They reflect a careful balancing act between safety, perception, and the presumption of innocence. And every ruling, every procedural move, is a signal to the public, to the jury, and to the parties involved about how seriously the court takes its responsibility. As we move closer to trial, anticipation builds. Preliminary hearings, expert testimonies, and legal arguments are shaping the battlefield. Both sides know the stakes. The defense focuses on mitigation and humanizing the defendant. The prosecution emphasizes evidence, motive, and accountability. The judge ensures fairness, the jury weighs truth, and the public watches every development unfold. And that's why your perspective matters too. Drop your location in the comments and share your thoughts. How do you think public opinion should influence justice? Should social media speculation play a role, or should courts remain insulated? Your voice adds to the broader understanding of what it means to seek justice in a modern, interconnected world. In the coming months, the story will continue to evolve. New hearings will present new angles. Witnesses will testify. Experts will provide critical insight. And when the trial concludes, the outcome will ripple far beyond the courtroom, impacting families, communities, and the public's trust in justice itself. Remember, this isn't just a case. It's a reflection of the tension between law and media, fact and opinion, process and perception. It's about how justice functions under pressure, how individuals navigate the courtroom, and how society responds when tragedy intersects with public scrutiny. So if you're still with me, hit that like button, share this video with someone who loves real investigative storytelling, and subscribe if you haven't already, because we're just getting started. Drop your location in the comments and tell me what justice means to you. From where I sit, this isn't just one case. It's a reminder that truth, no matter how buried, always fights to surface. And together, we'll keep searching until it does.